And I'm also excited here because Todd is not a conservative player.
It's one way.
He goes at it. And this is the kind of matchup where there's going to be spots where do you sit back on your heels and try to leave up your tricks and hope your opponent trips up first, or are you going to make your play and hope your opponent doesn't have God's Will in your Dromoka's Command, whatever you're playing around? Todd, much more in the second camp.
It's one way, but what I love about Todd is that it's always been one way.
Right.
And it will always be one way. Why diversify? Looks like Chris is taking a mulligan here, so we'll see if he's happy with his hand. 75 card mirror, by the way. Which I love. Windswept Heath, I'll start things off here. Round number 8 underway. Todd has a Windswept Heath of his own. He'll search up a basic plans for a favorite hot plate. Chris is going to sacrifice his Windswept Heath. He'll also get a plains. Whose plains do you like better? Go.
Chris's.
Okay. I like Todd's better. As usual, we agree on nothing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as magic artwork is concerned, there's a Defiant Strike. Chris needs a card, so he'll draw one.
Yeah, I don't think he has a second land just yet.
Had it. Right off the top. There's a Seeker's
Well, you cycle your Defiant Strikes.
That's why they're in the deck.
Well, not to cycle on your opponent's creatures to try to find your land drops so much.
Aren't they? Ordeal of Thassa, beatdowns. Favorite hoplites at 3-4. VanMeter will take 3. He's down to 16. And Buddy can gain some life back with the Seeker of the Way, depending on what his turn yields. Todd and Chris on the select side of Star City Games did a versus video this week where Todd was playing a 5-color rally deck that Matthew Tickle played last weekend, and Chris was playing a white-red aggro deck. Didn't test this matchup. So here's a Defiant Strike.
Chris was on the lookout that turn for Dromoka's Command. Picked up the Forest. If he had it, he could have blown up Todd's board and had a large threat left over.
Yeah, fight and kill his creature. Pretty good. Excuse me, counter and kill your creature with the fight ability. Don't want to choose to sacrifice in enchantment mode.
No, not against the Ordeals.
Yes.
Because then that just happens.
Yeah, they get to draw 2 cards or gain 10 life, depending on which Ordeal it is. Todd will draw. God's Willing is what he's found. 20-14 in favor of VanMeter right now. Seeker of the Way was able to gain some life. Manic Influence number 2. Beatdowns. Todd will draw 2. Coming across for a healthy 4. And there's a Seeker of the Way. 16-13 in favor of VanMeter as he goes to his 4th turn of the game. He'll draw. Looks like he picked up a copy of Hero Heroes.
But now Todd with the largest threat, most cards to work with, in a position where he's ahead on the board, leaving up mana.
Monastery Mentor is the play. Anderson going to take 1. See what this is going to be. A Defiant Strike.
And this is where Dromoka's Command blows the game wide open.
Yeah, if he has it, and he just drew it.
Had it.
This gets ugly now. Here's Dromoka's Command.
A worthwhile risk from Chris, because if Todd doesn't have it here, Chris has a chance to catch up. But now this is happening.
Yep. Todd going to gain some life here from that. Now here's a pretty healthy attack. Chris pretty far behind now.
Yeah. Monastery Mentor was his opportunity to catch up. If he untasks, plays a bunch of spells, makes a lot of blockers, things are starting to look pretty good, but you could not beat Dromoka's Command in that spot.
VanMeter in his 5th turn of the game. Very far behind now. Light totals were in his favor for a bit, but Anderson now with a 7 power favorite hop lane on the battlefield. All Chris can do is just play defense and pass the turn back over to Anderson. Or at least try to play defense.
Hang back and hope that Todd slips up.
Here's a God's willing. Chris says, you got to scry, man. Come on.
It's mandatory. Gotta do it.
Don't think Chris has any reprieve in this situation. Yeah, just attack with this. That's pro white after all.
Yeah, Chris can use Dramoka's command to fight the Seeker of the Way and try to gain some life, but
that's what he's going to do. Put a counter and fight the other Seeker of the Way. So this will be a life link. Yeah, looks like this is going to work out. There's Defiant Strike. Yeah. Yep, and you see both players. This is a little awkward because the Hoplite has pro white, and Todd just tried to cast a Defiant Strike on it for lethal, and it's not a legal target. And that's why both players were about to concede. Well, Chris was going to concede to give Todd the win, and then it was realized that this is not a thing that you can do. So this is interesting now.
Yep.
Now, for what it's worth, I think this is a game that Todd's going to go on to win, but we'll see what ends up being the ruling in this situation. And you see Chris kind of explaining exactly what happened, and this feels like some B-roll footage of a versus video.
yeah.
That's what
You just got to see some of the outtakes.
Yeah. It looks like Todd's going to win, however, as Chris realizes that he was dead in that instance anyway. So it looks like Todd Anderson's going to win game number 1 here over Chris VanMeter in the Banter-Heroic Mirror. We normally go to the sideboards one by one, but we'll just do it all at the same time because it's the exact same and you have it in front of you.
2 copies of Ordeal of Heliod, a Laguna Band Trailblazer, a Triton Tactics, 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke, a Strass Dancer and Island, 2 Treasure Cruise, 2 copies of Aqua's Form, 3 copies of Encased Knights. Really like the Ordeal of Heliods, the Aqua's Form, the Trailblazer, and the 1 copy of Triton Tactics. These are all cards that are very, very powerful in the damage race without very much removal. And Triton Tactics is a very powerful way to break serve when you're behind. Not a lot of ways to do it in the matchup. You're looking at basically just gaining life with Ordeal of Heliod or Dramoka's command. But Triton Tactics has the potential to be very good on offense and on defense. Not easy for cards to be able to play both roles in this matchup.
Does this matchup feel die roll dependent to you?
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't like 100% positive if that's always the case. I mean, I know that Dramoka's command is obviously a huge card in the matchup, but I'd like to believe that a player can win on the draw here.
Well, players can definitely win on the draw, and there's a couple cards, Valorous Stance helps out a lot here, as does Triton Tactics. The problem is these decks play a lot of offense and almost no defense. And usually when 2 decks square off like that, the die roll is going to matter a whole lot.
Sure. Both these players are going to sideboard up here. We'll take a look at the Season 3 schedule here on the Open Series, which of course did start in Charlotte for that Grand Prix won by Michael Malone. A huge Grand Prix that was a lot of fun to cover. Of course, we had our Open Series in Indy after that, which Eric Rill won with Green Red Dragons. Baltimore was won by The Boz, Andrew Boswell with Abzan Agro. And then last weekend in Chicago to kick off Magic Origins, Tawn Wynn got the job done with Green Red Devotion. We are here in Richmond. We'll figure out who our champion's going to be soon enough, but DC after that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're off next weekend for the regional championships. Head over to StarCityGames.com/regionals for more information. Then a Legacy Open in Washington, D.C., a Standard Grand Prix in London. We head back to Charlotte for a Modern Open Series event, and then the Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey. Standard and Legacy has the invitational formats with a 2-day, $20,000 Standard Open Series event, August 28th through the 30th.
Any main event that you do play during Season 3 will net you the sweet Tassiper playmat with Bananas the Slave Dog. Just hanging out, living life.
So happy for no reason. Anyhow, free. sign up, any Open Series event, not limited to the first X people who sign up. We don't mail it to you after the fact. Don't have to pay extra money. No raffle, no nothing. Just get it any Season 3 Open Series
No
event.
raffle?
Nothing.
I like raffles.
They're fun. Maybe we should raffle. I don't know
exciting.
if we should raffle off things or not, but we're not raffling off that playmat. You just get that.
Anything can happen in a raffle.
It's true.
Literally anything. It's the little things in life I enjoy.
Raffles.
The uncertainty. of
Lottery
raffles.
tickets.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a conversation for another time.
Mascot races at baseball games.
Also great. Hot dog rarely wins.
Not a gambling person, but if I was a gambler, that would be my favorite thing to gamble on. Mascot races.
The mascot races? Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good. One of life's simple pleasures. Every time it comes on during a baseball game, it's great. Who doesn't love it?
Right? We're in Milwaukee. Someone's dressed up as a hot dog. Someone's dressed up as a beer can. Someone's dressed up as a, whatever they have in Milwaukee besides hot dogs and beer cans. I don't really know. And they race up and down the field, and everyone has a good time.
I believe they have some ketchup there, probably.
Ketchup,
So dress up as one of those.
a brat.
Absolutely. I'm just getting hungry now. VanMeter will be on the play here. See if he can find an opener that he likes. We're underway. Windswept Heath and 2 favorite hot play. Remember, Chris played last game. He started off with a Windswept Heath. Todd was the one that was able to kick off with a threat in favorite hot play. This game, Todd has a Laguna Man Trailblazer.
Interested to see what got cut out of these decks. I feel like Treasure Cruise is not very good in the matchup. Games feel a little too fast, and there really aren't that many spells floating around, but I'm not confident in what these players removed.
Flooded Strand is land number 2 here for Chris. Here come the beatdowns. It's hard not to love this.
Yeah.
Defiant Strike. 1-2 into your 0-4. Yep, bring it on. Draw a card. Is there another Defiant Strike? I know there's in the Johnny's presence.
So I think what's going on here is Todd's saying, well, he has to have 2 tricks.
Yep.
If he does have 2 tricks, it means he has to fetch for plains. So there's a chance that he's going to be missing colors of mana right now because he's on plains. And then lastly, Todd's just the type of dude who's not going to just let you get a free point of damage on him.
Yeah, that's true. He's got an 0-4, a 1-2 attacking an 0-4. I'm blocking every time. But I'm also blocking because you're not getting a point in on me either.
Exactly.
I'm not going to 19.
I think that's the tiebreaker for Todd. But part of that is, Todd knows it's free for Chris to attack.
Yeah.
And if you never block in those spots, you're just giving up free points of damage all the time.
Yeah. And I always block there. I would have lost my creature like Todd did, but that's okay. Chris going to sacrifice a Windswept Heath. Probably going to go searching for the forest.
Can't let your friends get a free point on you on camera.
No.
Off
No.
camera, maybe it's different. Maybe
Yeah.
you're a little bit more risk averse, but here.
It's generally unacceptable.
Yeah.
There's a Hero of Eros, Laguna Man Trailblazer. VanMeter's the one with all the creatures this game. Anderson's got some catch-up to play. He'll cycle a Defiant Strike. Untap and draw. Jamoka's command has been found. That's a card that can catch him up if he can get a board.
Red and green mana. And both are problems right now.
Yes, they are.
I love when the heroic deck's curving out and playing multiple spells in one turn. And the last spell they cast, like the grand finale, is the Trailblazer.
Sure.
And here's my 0 power creature.
Last but certainly not least.
Yeah.
Blaze on, Blazer. Here come the beatdowns. 0-4 going to step in front of the 3-4. Another Trailblazer.
Chris just really speeding up the clock right
Yeah.
now. 'Cause adds another creature to the board.
0-4 City, one of my favorite places. If you're not familiar, you better get familiar. Until you top picked up a copy of Ordeal of Thassa. Aqua's form and pass the turn back, so a little defense here.
I believe Chris has drawn another blue card.
Yep. It's just how he drew it up, I'm telling you. Here we go. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. 0-4s are here to teach you. And now God's willing here. Looking to trigger Heroic. And now protection from a color. God's willing will resolve. Time to scry. This is really a treat.
Yep. Todd really on the hunt for green mana here.
Yeah. A Johnny's presence. That'll save that Hero of Herois. 2 damage will come through. The Trailblazers will deal none. Island found.
To Chris's credit, he just keeps attacking with them.
Yeah.
You don't know what I have.
Oh,
Not doing a lot on defense against Aqua's for him too, so.
I like splitting them next turn. 1 and 1. 1 on D, 1 on offense. VanMeter will draw. I think he just found blue mana finally. There's a Flooded Strand. If that's what he was missing, he has it now. What he doesn't have is Dramoka's Command.
It's not like his leftovers are that great.
Yep.
It's a Battle-Wise Hoplite, another creature that isn't that impactful. And Trading Tactics, which is at least a way to trigger Heroic. But Todd's the one on defense right now, so.
Chris figured out how he wants to attack. Yes.
Hand hovering over the Trailblazer.
He's-
He ran your track!
Yes! Split him up, big man. There you go. There you
We
go.
finally got to see
yes.
One on O, one on D.
Little offense, defense.
Please, please someone screenshot this board. Please.
Yep. No counters, no counters. Looks like one's good.
Just one on O, one on D is really, really funny to me right there.
Chris going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand to search up an island. I think we'll have a Battle-Wise Hoplite in just a moment. You got to play for all scenarios, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. For all scenarios, you got to play. You just don't know. There's the Hoplite. Pass that turn back. Todd taking a little look at the graveyard here. Did draw a Flooded Strand, but it looks like he's without green mana.
Has an opportunity to put Ordeal on Lugia Mana Trailblazer, trigger that, and search. But that's a pretty risky play.
Yeah.
And the Trailblazer's doing a lot of work on defense right now. Now, with that said, Todd needs to find green mana relatively soon because his hand doesn't have a lot going on besides Dramoka's commands and proactive enchantments, and that's not very helpful.
Yeah, he wants to be attacking. Time to search for Flooded Strand. Basic planes. Treasure Cruise. 3 cards coming. He found a Mana Confluence. So he'll have green mana. Just won't be this turn. Chris will draw. Looks like a Dromoka's Command. All right, things are going to get interesting now.
I'm not sure if that's going to do it, but if it doesn't, it's going to be real close.
It at least changes some things.
God's Willing's got to be on Chris's radar right now.
And Johnny's Presence too. Again, these guys have the exact same 75 card deck list, so. Ah, yes. No more defense for that 04. Oh, how dare you separate them like that?
So disrespectful.
Yeah.
You don't know what these things are capable of.
It's truly unbelievable.
You have no idea what I'm going to do with these. I think we're setting a record for attacks with a 0 power creature in the game.
Yeah. Triton Tactics. Nice. Heroic triggers. Now they get to untap too, but he gets to scry first with the Battle-Wise Hoplite. Got to resolve these cards in the right order.
Yeah, and this is a way for Chris to add more pressure and interact with Todd's board in a way that doesn't play into his Johnny's Presence or God's Willing. And he gets to sit on Dromoka's Command, which is a really nice insurance policy to have.
Such a great heroic enabler. Now here's Dromoka's Command. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Blaze on, Trailblazer. Yep, Todd is all done here.
Now that he's actually going to take points of damage off the Trailblazers, Todd doesn't want to play
That's the
anymore.
line?
Yeah.
That's the line right there. Chris VanMeter going to win game number 2 here over Todd Anderson, the Ban Heroic Mirror, which means Anderson will be on the play for game number 3. At times it does feel die roll dependent, but to me it's, really whoever gets the opportunity to catch Dromoka's Command.
Which is a lot to do with the die roll.
Yeah.
When you're the one out in front, it's 2 mana in a matchup where mana is at a premium. And you need to be able to play back if your opponent has a trick. So that requires you to have the initiative. Way easier to do that when you're on the play.
2 players that you'll find in the Star City Games newsletter here are Chris VanMeter and Todd Anderson, and it is your source for Magic the Gathering news, and it's been revamped for your reading pleasure.
Exactly. Whether you're a fan of the Open Series or the website or both, plenty of content for you. We have information on the Open Series plus a match of the week, exclusive deck lists and advice from some of our premium columnists, and an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, free to sign up over at starcitygames.com/newsletter.
You and the F word again.
Free.
I've been telling you about using that. But it's a great word, so that's fine. It is free, free, free all day long. And you can find Todd and Chris in there. Game number 3 and going to be underway here in just a moment of round number 8. Both these players off to great starts. They're at 6-1.
I appreciate all of those of you on social media who captured that screenshot and sent it to me. That's why Magic's a great game.
It can be really good sometimes, I'll tell you. Just an 0-4 on D and an 0-4 in the red zone.
I want to attack with one of the 0-4s because who knows what might happen. And I want to leave one of them back on defense because who knows what could happen.
Yep.
This way, I'm maximizing my possibilities of things happening because you just don't know.
You have to be careful.
But not too careful. You can't leave them both back on defense. That's playing too conservatively. Attack with both of them. Well, who knows what happens on the way back?
It's just true. It's just true.
Too hot, too cold, just right.
Yeah. Trailblazer. Truly one of my favorite cards in the Heroic deck. I gotta say it.
We had a match earlier this year where someone attacked with a 0-power Trailblazer. It got blocked and then put in the graveyard.
Yep. Yeah. I can't remember what happened to it, but that actually did happen.
I'm gonna miss the Trailblazer because 0-power creatures that can show up in attacking decks lead to a lot of hilarious scenarios.
Yeah. I actually forgot what happened to it, but I remember that happening.
Just got put in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Just died.
Coming in. block it, I guess?
I'll block. It has no power. I'll block it, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that was this is an indie. This is a real one. That's it. Yeah, I remember that. There he is.
Yes.
Great start to the game here for Chris.
It's already heating up. Ooh. Todd ripped his own? Todd ripped his own?
That's the Elder. That's not the Trailblazer.
Oh, okay.
No one cares about the Elder and its 3-2 power. I think Todd did rip his own.
They're at parity. Then Chris has got to decide whether or not he wants to attack or block.
There's the basic planes. Todd having green mana very early on in the game from that Temple of Plenty.
Really important because both of these players have had colored mana issues so far. To me, that's the biggest cost of the Bant build of this deck instead of the blue-white build is your mana's shaky.
Oh, no, for sure. Here of our rows here for Anderson.
Flooded Strands and Windstorm Thief are powerful mana fixers, but this deck is so sensitive on having white mana and blue mana and green mana that they aren't the most efficient mana fixers. This deck would much rather have, you know, brush lands and Adhikar wastes and just lands that actually made 2 colors of mana.
Wouldn't care about the damage.
Exactly.
There's a mana confluence. That's why that card's so good in this deck.
Your lands have to make white mana, so I don't think you could really afford to play Yavimaya Coast, but you would like other dual lands.
Trailblazers getting hot. Aqua's form is made into a 1/5. Oh, yeah. Defiant Strike. It's a 3-power creature now.
Heating up.
Red Zone. Scry. That's not the noise that makes. Doesn't hit that hard yet. To Todd we go. Flooded Strand. Todd with the more potent heroic threat.
Hero is one of the key cards in the mirror match because it's so much about mana efficiency.
Yeah.
Stuff doesn't really die. And so Hero discounting 2 mana spells, really, really good.
Here's an attack for 2. Follow-up? Seeker of the Way. Pretty important card in the mirror, too.
Yes. The only way these decks really interact outside of Dramoka's command is gaining life. They don't kill things very easily, so Seeker of the Way could be a very, very valuable threat.
Windswept Heath the land here for Chris. We'll sacrifice that. Forest or Plains on the way? We'll go with the basic Plains. Here of our roast there. Ordeal Thassa appears to be next up. Actually, we'll go with Ordeal of Heliod instead. All right. Wants that 10 life right now. Of course, it only costs 1 mana because of Hero of Iros. Sleeping Man Trailblazer will get 2 more counters. It's a 4-power unblockable attacker.
I'm actually a little surprised that Chris did not go with the other Ordeal because he's only got 1 blue mana and he's got plenty of white mana.
Yeah.
So when you have the mana confluence left over as your land, I'd rather get the blue spell out of your hand so you can play a different blue spell or green spell the following turn.
I also kind of like trying to trap my opponent with Ordeal of Heliod, like kind of getting 10 life out of nowhere.
Sure, yeah.
Planning for that way
it
ahead
is
of
more of
several.
a trick than the other one is. But for me, the fact that Chris's lands plains mana confluence, get the blue card out of your hand when you have a confluence left over.
Yeah. Todd giving some beatdowns here.
Yeah, your point about it being a trick is also pertinent. It's a surprise, and Ordeal Thassa is not a surprise.
Surprised I drew 2 cards.
Yeah. Okay, let me know when that comes up.
Yeah. There's Battle-Wise top play. Anderson will pass the turn back. Doesn't appear either player has access to Dramoka's command just yet this game. Plains the draw there for VanMeter. Chris is going to check his sideboard real quick.
Gotta know what he can potentially draw into.
Yep. Gonna start by using that Mana Confluence for something. It'll be ordeal. So pay a life to put a +1/+1 counter on that Laguna Band Trailblazer. And now attacking. Add a counter. Depending on how he wants to stack it. Looks like he wants to scry first. Now he resolves ordeal. Counter, peel 2. It'll be a healthy attack for 6.
I think Chris picked up Tremoka's command, and this is the consequence of the play that I alluded to last turn, where he does not have his green source of mana anymore.
Chris can use the Defiant Strike there. He's looking to make it a 2-turn game.
It also just pressures Todd to have to tap out to gain life with his copy of Seeker of the Way, because Todd can no longer interact with what's going on Chris's side of the table. That creature is so far outside Tremoka's command range. It's just Valorous Stance or bust at this point. And you don't want to be the one tapping out into your opponent's mana in the Heroic Mirror if you can avoid it, because that's an easy way to have someone play back on top of you.
There's Flooded Strand. Basic Island. And now Seeker of the Way. Anderson going to untap and draw. He's got some serious catching up to do. He can't beat this Laguna Band Trailblazer.
No. Just one copy of Valorous Stance.
There's a Giant's Presence. Using this simply to scry. Top card to the bottom. Also get a card in the graveyard for Treasure Cruise, but there's only 4 cards down there, so.
Yep. I mean, Todd still can cast a spell and gain some life. And actually now 2 spells because of Defiant Strike basically being free as it pertains to casting Treasure Cruise this turn.
He's going to target Battle-Wise Hoplite.
Get some scries for his trouble too. He finds Valorous Stance. Suddenly, he's the one out very far ahead.
Yeah, we got a game again, and in a big way. This card's interesting. I don't have a great look at what it is, but he's thinking about it for a while, and he's going to draw it. It's an Ordeal of Thassa. It only costs 1 blue, so it's more looks at it.
And at this stage, even though Tremoka's command can't kill the Trailblazer, it can at least force Chris to sacrifice the Aqueous form. Now you can block, and maybe you got a shot that way.
Scry will go to the bottom. Gonna come in here with Battle-Wise Hoplite and Seeker of the Way. Ordeal will crack. 2 cards, Hero of Iroas, and a land. Bunch of cards in the graveyard.
And Todd's starting to make this a 2-turn game over on his side of the table right now too.
Because we can't forget, he's gaining life.
Yes.
It's a 4/4 Seeker of the Way because of prowess.
That's, yes, 4/4.
Yep. Let's see how Chris wants to block, if at all. That'll be the interesting thing to see.
A chump block with Hero of Iroas on the Battle-Wise Hoplite feels reasonable to me.
Tough to argue.
Well, Chris also wants to be able to set up lethal on the way back potentially, and with Tremoka's command, let's assume Todd taps out for another 2-drop. there's a possibility that gets opened up all of a sudden.
For sure.
And that may not be available to him if he chump blocks, but it looks like that's where he's going to go.
So there's your jump block. Anderson up to 10, VanMeter down to 11. Hero Varos and now a Temple. Top card, bottom card now. Pass. VanMeter's untapping and drawing. Not a lot of action in Chris's hands, so this is a pretty big draw step here.
Well, Johnny's presence, I think, gets him to kill with Jamoka's command and presence. That's just enough to get 10 points plus of unblockable damage.
Yeah. That's going to do it. Chris VanMeter going to win this match here over Todd Anderson. 2-1. The Ban Heroic Mirror goes to CVM. Pretty important match for him, all things told. You see the numbers next to their name, number 6 and number 20. Chris is number 6 on our Season 3 leaderboard, so this is a big win for him trying to keep pace with Danny.
Yeah, Chris trying to make up for lost time. Was not in Chicago last week. Still in the race for an at-large bid. Todd, number 20 right now, trying to get in a position where he has 2 buys. Maybe get himself in the race for an at-large bid at the end of the year.
Yeah, so big win there in the Heroic Mirror. 75-card mirror, so both those players know exactly what they're playing. Both players drove up together. They knew what was going on, and you can just really see the importance of Aqua's form and Jamoka's command in that matchup.
Yeah, once someone gets out in front with Jamoka's command, that's going to be a game-winning play more often than not. It's just too big of a swing of damage and making up, breaking up their board and so on and so forth. So that's a hard card to execute when you're on the draw because you need to have 2 mana and the ability to play back if your opponent has a response. But when you're on the play, it's not too hard to engineer those situations. And it came up over and over again in the mirror match.
Yeah, and it was definitely fun to watch. So congratulations, Chris VanMeter, for defeating his good friend Todd Anderson. He moves on to 7-1. Todd moves down to 6-2. Both those players still in day 2 contention. Chris is locked now, and I think even if Todd loses, he's good
the sense I got from looking at the standings was 6-3 should be good enough for day 2. We never know until we know, but we had players at three losses coming in the round in 90-something place. Implies that the 3 losses should be good for day 2.
Well, one player we're hoping to see in day number 2 is Shaheen Sarani, a player who is playing Sultai Control this week. And now, of course, Shaheen always kind of doing his own thing as far as control decks are concerned. But we talked to him a little bit earlier today, and he said that Languish has made this a really good deck now.
Well, the biggest vulnerability his deck has always had to be to a rush of creatures.
Yep.
We've seen it over and over again, and if you ever see his sideboards, they always feel like they're trying to load up on the mono reds and mono whites of the world because his decks are usually very good at beating other mid-range and control decks. Language gives him a tool that is good in a lot of the mid-range matchups, or at least a functional card, while also vastly improving his matchups against the linear aggressive decks of the format.
He is a control master, and he sat down with Ken Crocker in the sideboard to explain how he got to the exact list that he does have. So we'll let you guys enjoy this deck tech on the way out. We do come back for our last round of coverage, of course, players to watch, and then round number 9. Enjoy the deck tech.
Hello and welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Richmond, Virginia. I'm Ken Crocker here with Esper Master himself, Shaheen Sarani. Shaheen, how you doing?
I'm just great. Glad to be here.
I don't see any planes.
No, it's a slippery slope. You play, I was at 1 force, now I'm playing 2 force, and next thing you know, I'll be casting, Rancors and Invigorates.
Shaheen, what's going on?
This, you know what? You print Eternal Witness, and I'm going to play Eternal Witness. And it was only a matter of time. The Esper Dragon fad kind of fell through because of the problem with Deathness Raptor and Den Protector, and I knew it was a sinking ship. So instead of just abandoning the control effort, we have to adapt.
We have to adapt and evolve.
Evolve
so instead of Esper control, we're on Sultai control.
Yep.
But we're on like a Planeswalker-y heavy kind of Sultai control. So very similar to what was going on at the beginning of the season with something like Gerard was playing, something like this. But you've definitely made some improvements since. Yeah,
Gerard's been a kind of an inspiration for the deck. Ashiok is definitely the win condition. It's the only 2 of the Planeswalkers in the whole of the deck, and the rest are 1-ofs. But it's a slow deck. It wins, but it takes a long time to do so. It's not flashy. It's just super grindy, 1-for-1. Using the power of Eternal Witness, 1-for-1s, and dig through time.
Sure. So going over the Planeswalkers, we got 1 Ugin the Spirit Dragon, 1 Garruk Apex Predator, 1 Cure the Crashing Wave, which we haven't seen in a long time, to be honest. Right. And then 2 Ashiok Nightmare Weaver. So you said Ashiok's pretty much your win condition, which, is scary in and of itself.
Yeah.
But what is Cure really, we haven't seen her in a long time. What are you bringing her in for, basically, to deal with in this metagame?
She's great. And when it was first printed, it draws a card, so it automatically catches my attention. I'm like, oh, it draws a card. So it can only be so bad, right? So in a format where there are multiple creatures coming in the battlefield, a turn Kiora is bad.
Sure.
But in this format, besides red-green devotion, a lot of these Abzan and other strategies have one creature a turn at most.
Yeah.
And if you're playing against a control deck or any of the new flashy uses of the planeswalkers, you're not going to see a board being filled dramatically. So it comes in against, it's good against all decks that are slow, all the mid-range decks, and actually the kicker is what I've used it the most in testing, and this is something that is kind of like abstract, but it happens so often. I say, out of every 10 matches, maybe once or twice in those 10 matches, is that you're able to minus into an Ugin plan. So a lot of times you'll have, you'll play Kiora and you'll look at your hand, you'll scry land. I'll keep another land on top, which is confusing because I have so many already.
Sure.
But I plan it out, you minus, you play your second land for turn, and it's just enough to get Ugin 1 or even 2 turns early, and that's just detrimental for half the field there.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be awesome against something like Abzan. So.
Oh, yeah. And even like the rally deck I did last round where I planned it like just in a way where I can just exactly take enough damage, Kiora minus, chump block here, and then play Ugin a turn early in order to wipe the board.
So we kind of lied. You do have another Planeswalker, sort of.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
So you have Nissa Vastwood Seer. You have a one of her to go with your other creatures, which is 4 State Wayfinder, and only 3 Den Protector.
Only 3 Den Protector. Yep.
We couldn't fit the 4th one in?
Couldn't put the 4th one in. I tried.
Okay.
You know me, Eternal Witness is...
Well, I know you love your forests.
Yeah, I love forests. Hey, Eternal Witness should be blue, 1. I mean, it's a blue card. It gives you a card back from the graveyard. I mean, Regrowth, what was that?
It was ages ago. No one remembers
20
that.
years ago, no one remembers
We
that
can't
card.
even pull that up.
No,
no one's going to know what you're talking about.
No, it's... and even back then I played blue, I think, from the womb anyway. But yeah, Den Protector is like a control card.
Sure.
It's played in the mid-range decks, it's played even in the aggressive decks, but they can't abuse it like a control deck does. You're not getting back Rakasha Death Dealer, you're not getting back Siege Rhino, you're not getting back Fleece Main Line, you're getting back Dig Through Time, Ugin, Garruk, cards that are just extremely powerful. So in this deck, to go with the Nissa is definitely the drive to play green.
Okay.
But Nissa, it's one of those decisions. I was like, 25th land or 3 mana spell. The expensive guy in me, the expensive sorcery guy in me.
Expensive sorcery master.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go with a 3 mana spell here. I mean, 25th land is very boring to me.
Yeah.
Nissa's very exciting, and actually Nissa's been great for me today. It's been great in testing. The gamble in the deck is a 2-force.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't, get to do what Nissa gets to do for you. The best thing possible is give you a land and then die later in the game. But when you bring it back with Den Protector and it flips in this deck, again, Nissa in the control shell has a much more potent impact than Nissa in an aggressive shell.
So something noticeable missing here, though, is we talk about all these Planeswalkers that are somewhat new. You have Nissa. I mean, you have all the blue Planeswalkers, except you seem to be missing Jace.
And you would think they would stop making bad Jaces, okay? The last one was bad, and this one, all right, so it's not that bad. It's a very, very specific card for specific decks.
Okay.
When was the last time in a control deck or in any deck you could just play turn 2 Merfolk Looter and it would be good? I mean, if you have a Satyr Wayfinder, all right, touche. But like in this deck, I hear the story. It's like, oh, I played Satyr Wayfinder and then I played Jace and it flipped and it was amazing. I'm like, I played Satyr Wayfinder, Thought Season, and Dig Through Time. I'd rather do that every time anyway. And Jace is a liability. You cannot play a card in a control deck that can get Bobblighted. You can't play a card in a controller that gets Murderous Cut and you get no value from it. Nissa gives you a net value, gives you the land. Because the land is so important in this deck as compared to other decks because you have to hit 6, 7, 8, 9 mana and to continue to do things you do. But in this deck, if you're playing a Jace, especially in the late game, after you're playing Draw Go, it's not going to live. You give them an outlet for all their trashy cards that they have against you. Okay. And even when it flips, yeah, you get to do Dig Through Time and that's the optimal play, but then again, there are so many better cards that you can play in that card, and it's a pipe dream.
All right. And then we have, your normal kind of control fare. We got 4 Dig Through Time. We have the one of Treasure Cruise because who doesn't like drawing cards?
Exactly. And with 4 Wayfinder, it's just so much easier in this deck than any other deck, and that's another draw. This is Dark Ritual.
Dark Ritual
for the control deck.
All right.
Yep.
So in the last 2 deck techs we've had, basically Narset Transcendent is better than Jace the Mind Sculptor.
I never said that.
And Satyr Wayfinder is Dark Ritual.
All right, maybe I did say that. All right, look, at the time in that invitational, and you're right, at the time, when the world was controlled in mid-range and then the world was simple, Narset was like that for me. A simpler time. Before
when you could play Esper.
Yeah, we play Esper. Before people were playing 8 mana dorks in every deck in the format. Like, what is going on here?
Well,
every deck's got 4 Mystic and 4 Caryatid, and they play just an abusive amount And now, luckily, I bet you're going to lead into this.
Yeah, speaking of the mana dorks, you do have the 3 copies of Languish, so
Right.
you're not playing Crux of Fate or Perilous Vault like some of the other control decks are. So why Languish? Because I mean, it doesn't kill Siege Rhino, it doesn't kill Tassiger,
Right.
so it could lead to some problems here.
Yeah, so the old decks had both those cards you mentioned, Vault and
Yeah.
Crux. Now with Languish, it's just strictly better than both because I'm going to use those 2 points you mentioned. Siege Rhino and Tassiger aren't typically the cards you're going to lose to. When people ask me what are the weaknesses, what matchups are bad, it's everything but those cards.
Okay.
It's the cards that precede that card that really beat you. Like Fleeceman Lion, Rakasha Death Dealer, Anafenza, those really sick starts, Planeswalkers, tons of Mana Dorks into Xenagos and Whisperwood Elemental, and all those cards I mentioned, for the most part, are taken care of by Languish. And people still are rusty at playing against this card. People still aren't used to the turn 4 I'm going to lose all my guys. And if you're playing Red-Green Devotion against a black deck, do you have a choice whether to play your Mystics and Caryatids early?
Sure.
You don't. And
Makes sense.
And it's an abuse of it's a control abuse.
Yeah.
Okay. When you have to board Crux of Fate out against aggro decks, it costs 5, and now you don't have to do that anymore. This card doesn't get boarded out against anything that has power and toughness 4 or less.
Okay. And then finally, we'll talk about the Sultai Charm here. Now, obviously, you get to play Sultai. There are no Esper Charms, so that's one reason.
Right.
Okay. The other reason is you get to play Sultai Charm. So I assume you just didn't want to lose to Gaia's Revenge?
Oh,
Is that pretty
yeah.
much
People
it?
are like, it's a control killer. No, we have Doomblade, sort of. But yeah, Sultai Charm, when it was released, was the first charm released, and I said that this card was just too good because it has 4 modes on it. You got Artifact, you got Enchantment, you got Card Draw, and you got Removal. And I actually, when the first set first came out, I built Sultai to kind of around the Sultai Charm, and I had like Caryatids and Polychronos and all these kind of creatures in there. Obviously, that didn't last long for me because creatures are silly.
Yeah,
so
why play with
why play
creatures?
creatures when I play things that make creatures, right? So, but Sultai Charm, the power is still as good as I said it was that day. It kills everything. It's good against every deck in the format. I mean, at worst, you're being able to catalog and then fill your graveyard up even more so in order to get your powerful Delve spell. So Sultai Charm is great.
All right, well, this seems like a pretty solid control deck. I mean, you obviously have a sideboard that's, it's pretty much just to kind of help them certain matchups. You got the life gain, and feed the clan, self-inflicted wound against whoever happens to be playing, I don't know, Heroic or Esper Dragon still.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got, your smattering of one-of, another Ashiok because you might need a 3rd win condition.
Yeah. Actually, Ashiok comes in more often than the other cards do.
Okay.
If they have a forest in their deck somewhere, you'll see the next Ashiok come in because it's just that good. And then the self-inflicted wounds, of course, are for still problem. I mean, sometimes you still can lose a Fleeceman Lion. I've actually had issues where I had a Fleeceman Lion that was had a counter put on it by the command.
Okay.
And then after Monstrous, and then if they escape the Languish net, then you need a backup in order to deal with it.
So if you guys are looking for a control deck and you're looking to play with a little bit of forests, but mostly black and blue, Shahid Siranis, we got your back. Thanks for taking the time to side us in, Shaheen. I
Always a
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thanks a lot.
All right, you guys stay tuned for more action here in Richmond.
Meet the StarCityGames.com Summer 2015 Creature Collection. We are proud to debut 4 brand new designs, including the Piglet, Monkey, and Kraken, plus our card parody Deathrite Salmon. All are now available on playmats, sleeves, and bundles with 1 playmat and 2 packs of sleeves. Get your Summer 2015 Creature Collection products now exclusively at StarCityGames.com.
SCG Live is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, where you can now pre-order Battle for Zendikar boxes, cases, fat packs, and more. With great prices, excellent customer service, and the world's largest Magic the Gathering singles inventory, StarCityGames.com is your one-stop shop for all your Magic the Gathering needs. Visit us on the web at StarCityGames.com and pre-order Battle for Zendikar today.
Three copies of Liliana also in Andrew's list, which is quite synergistic with cards like Flushbag Marauder.
A card we have not seen much of.
1 copy in Matthew Tickle's deck from last week, I believe, and otherwise no Lilianas in Chicago from what I can recall.
Both players are going to start off with Temple of Malady as round number 3 is underway here between Vaughn and Jessup. Vaughn going to play a Thoughtseize, get an idea of what Jessup is working with here. You see a basic forest in hand, another copy